Welcome to Session 2 of May Our Spirits Be Renewed, our Lenten Spark series. Last week, Devin brought us very nicely into the process of Lent, a time when we take stock of our lives in order to be drawn closer to God. He reminded us that Lent invites us to go beyond our human condition, moving forward in the sure hope that there is a God who loves us and who is calling to us. And while Lent is an opportunity for growth, that growth often seems to come from looking at or experiencing the hard stuff. You know, when we go to the gym, we push our muscles to work harder or in different ways than they have before. And that exertion leads to stronger muscles and a healthier body. Or sometimes when we go through a hard patch with a close friend or a spouse, when we just seem to be farther apart than either of us wants to be. The working through it together can lead to a deeper understanding of each other and of the relationship, making it better than ever. And when we work together to fix a thing, whatever that thing might be in our relationship, we grow in that relationship. And Lent can be the same thing for our relationship with God. You know, as Devin shared last week, sometimes our inner examination is kind of tough, but it makes us better through a better relationship with God. The work is worth it because it causes or enables our growth. And this is the renewal that we're hoping for, that we're looking for in this series. Originally, Lent was created or, carried out for the catechumens and candidates, but the church saw that we all need this growth every year as we look toward Easter. And to help us with that, there are 3 special Sundays during Lent where particular gospel readings and rites are used to point us in specific directions to consider various questions on our way to this Easter renewal and growth. And these are called Scrutiny Sundays, and they are the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Sundays of Lent. The purpose of these scrutinies is to uncover and then heal all the things inside us that are weak, as well as to bring out and strengthen all that is good. At their core, these scrutinies are about the overwhelming grace of God. And today we're going to examine the first of these scrutinies, which is the woman at the well. Last week, I asked that if at all possible, you try to restrict your water intake today. Your Spark leaders reminded you of this in their emails to you, but if you weren't able to do it, you're still allowed to come with us on this journey this morning. Just remember a time when you were very thirsty. So your leaders have some questions right now about this, how this thirsting experience has been for you. So please pause the video and have those discussions right now. Well, I hope that conversation wasn't too dry. So it does us good to look at how we can be physically thirsty for liquid, but also how we can be spiritually thirsty for the good things that God brings into our lives, like peace or acceptance or community. But then there are also the times when we thirst for things that do not quench us, when we thirst for power or for riches or control. Sometimes seeking to satisfy those thirsts leads us astray and away from God. And these desert times of Lent can be good for us by allowing us to see more clearly the things that we need to be seeing, to go back to the basics and point out the necessary things. You know, it was very interesting to me that during COVID, which truly was a long desert time, we realized how many of our needs were actually wants. Sometimes stripping away the trappings can reveal the bare bones of the truth. So I'd like you now to listen to the story about thirst from the woman at the well and how God uses thirst to bring us back to Him.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus had to pass through Samaria, and his journey brought him to a Samaritan town named Shechem, near the plot of land which Jacob had given to his son Joseph. This was the site of Jacob's well. Jesus, tired from his journey, sat down at the well. The hour was about noon. His disciples had gone off to the town to buy food. A Samaritan woman came to draw water. Jesus said to her,
"Give me a drink."
The Samaritan woman said to him,
"You are a Jew. How can you ask me, a Samaritan, and a woman for a drink?"
Remember that Jews have nothing to do with Samaritans.
If only you recognize God's gift and who it is that is asking you for a drink, you would have asked him instead, and he would have given you living water.
Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water.
Sir, you don't have a bucket, and this well is deep. Where do you expect to get this flowing water? Surely you don't pretend to be greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it with his sons and his flocks.
Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I will give will never be thirsty. No, the water I give shall become a fountain within, leaping up to provide eternal life.
Sir, give me this water so that I won't grow thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water.
Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water.
Go, call your husband, and then come back.
I have no husband.
You are right in saying you have no husband. The fact is you have had 5, and the man you are living with now is not your husband. What you said is true.
Sir, I can see you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you people claim that Jerusalem is a place where people ought to worship God.
Believe me, woman, an hour is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You people worship what you do not understand, while we understand what we worship. After all, salvation is from the Jews. Yet an hour is coming, and is already here, when authentic worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Indeed, it is just such worshipers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and those who worship God must worship in spirit and truth.
Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water.
I know that the Messiah, the Anointed, is coming. When he comes, he will tell us everything.
I who speak to you am he.
His disciples, returning at this point, were surprised that Jesus was speaking with a woman. However, none of them asked, "What do you want of him?" or "Why are you talking with her?" The woman left her jar and went off into town. She said to the people,
Come and see someone who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah?
With that, they set out from the town to meet him.
Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water.
Many Samaritans from that town believed in him on the strength of the woman's word of testimony.
He told me everything I ever did.
The result was that when these Samaritans came to him, they begged him to stay with them a while. So he stayed there 2 days, and through his own spoken word, many more came to faith. As they told the woman, "No longer does our faith depend on your story. We have heard for ourselves, and we know that this really is the Savior of the world."
Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water. Give us living water.
This is the holy gospel of the Lord.
So let's look at this gospel a little bit more in depth. Who is this woman, and why is this encounter so unusual? So first, in Jesus' day and age, a man and woman who are not related to each other should never be alone like this. This goes against many of the cultural norms of the day. Well, and then you have the issue of there being a Jew and a Samaritan. So even though both groups had common ancestors, for centuries there had been political and religious rifts between them. Think of Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland, rival gangs in New York City, sharks and jets, that kind of relationship. And I've heard of some themes in Jewish culture where a man and a woman at a well indicates betrothal, sort of an understood of, oh, that's what it means. So with all of this as the background, imagine the surprise of the disciples as they come upon Jesus in this situation. And they don't say anything about it, which was very interesting. And this act foreshadows the inclusive nature of that new covenant where all are invited to partake of God's grace. So now consider the woman herself. The women of the village would come to the well early each morning to draw the water that they would need for the day. They lived in an extremely hot climate, so getting this task done early, when it was still cool, was really important. And it also would have served as a time of community for them, a time to gather as women and check in for the day. They would discuss their lives and gossip about the happenings of the day before. But Jesus encounters the woman at the well at noon, during the heat of the day, and this indicates that she is an outcast. She's not welcome to be there with the other woman, and she is most likely the subject of much of their gossip. She's cut off from the support of her community, and her sins have set her apart. But Jesus cuts through every cultural and political and religious norm to truly see who she is inside. He sees everything she has ever done, and yet he loves her anyway. He sees her faults, her failings, her darkness, and then he invites her into the light of relationship with him. He heals her of her sins, and then she becomes that source of light for the others in her village as she runs back to bring the whole community out to see him, the one who told me everything I had ever done, and the one who had loved her anyway. Devin mentioned that the question we ask this week is, could this Jesus be the one, the Messiah? And the woman at the well clearly sees that he is. And in fact, it is one of the few instances in the Gospels where Jesus directly identifies himself as the Christ during his earthly ministry. We all see that he alone is the one who can heal her. He alone is the one who can fix the rift with her community. Through all her searching, Jesus is the one she has been looking for. One of the wonderful things about the Bible is that there are a lot of places where the person who is encountering Jesus has no name. And it's those times that we get to put our own name in there. This is us. We are the ones who are experiencing this, and we get to claim that as our own. We are the woman at the well. We are the person seeking a closer relationship with God. We are the person born into a sinful world, looking for that pathway into the light. And then we are the one that gets to bring that light to our own communities. So Jesus sees her, and he loves her, and then he offers her living water. And this living water is the spiritual sustenance and salvation that Jesus Christ offers. We think about the life-giving properties of water, symbolizing the spiritual refreshment that comes from accepting Jesus and his teachings. And it symbolizes our relationship with Christ. When we are close to him, his grace wells up within us, quenching our thirsts and overflowing into our relationships with others. Jesus knew everything she had ever done, and yet he loved her and offered her a relationship with him. He loves us like this too. No matter what, he offers to come into our lives and heal us in the ways that we need to be healed, often ways we don't even realize are there. The woman at the well comes to the well thirsty, looking to satisfy that thirst. But she finds Jesus. She questions, she challenges him, she probes, and then she finally yields to him. What she thought she knew and what she came looking for get turned upside down. Her radical conversion is what we are invited to come to know and accept Christ personally and deeply, to know that he can heal us, and to know that he is the only one that can satisfy those deeper thirsts with his living water. This week, if we attend the 4:30 liturgy on Saturday, we will listen to this gospel with our OCIA members. We will hear Jesus offer us this living water, and we will experience that healing, that welling up of the refreshing, cleansing nature of Jesus for ourselves. Come on in, the water's fine.